Hi there, welcome back to ADSR Machine Tutorials. Get yourself subscribed to our YouTube channel if you're not already, youtube.com/ADSR Tuts. Going to give you a brief overview here of the sample mapping options in Maschine, and just look at the various different pages we have on offer here. So go over this kind of icon here and we click that, and then we get to the sampler page in Maschine, and on the first page we have record. So you can already see my kind of voice, the level for my voice is coming in here. So we can record within Maschine, we can record internally or externally. So at the moment the source is external stereo. Of course, if you're doing a microphone, external mono, you can select it to that. And then when you have any of the external sources selected, you have these kind of input options here, and then the mode, I'll come back to that in a second, length, and what you have here actually, which when you go to internal it disappears, but the external options, you have this monitor here. So with that on, we're sending the input signal to the Q bus of Maschine, which would allow us to hear or monitor what we're recording on a separate channel, which is quite a nice option, quite a nice feature to have. We have internal recording as well here, so we can record from another group or another sound in Maschine. So if I was to add another group in here and load up a drum kit on this group, so it's down below kit. I was playing with this before, it's quite a nice kit. And notice I've got the auto load option and auto load pattern option highlighted there. So just by clicking on that down below kit, it's brought up this pattern here for me. And go back to this sampling page. So next to the source, where we select the source, we've got this input option here. So we can do the master, so it's going to record the master output of Maschine, what we're seeing, this level up here, but also we can select it to just record from an individual group. So I loaded up that down below kit on group B before, so we can select that as the input. So if we hit play now, you can see that level coming in, and next to input you've got mode, or you've got length as well. So mode, you set it to sync. We'll look at detect first actually. So when we go to detect mode, we get this threshold. So basically what this means is once this threshold has been exceeded, the recording will start. So if I hit start, it's waiting for that threshold to be exceeded. Once it's exceeded, it starts recording. Stop, then we've got this recording in here. Just undo that. So if we go back to sync, this is quite a nice option for just recording kind of drums in and stuff. We've got this length as well in here, so 1 bars to 16 bars or just 3, which basically means the length is determined from when we hit start, when we hit stop. So it's quite nice if you want to record an exact kind of loop in. So if I set it to 1 bar, sync basically means it's going to start recording from the start of the next bar. So we're going to get a nice accurate recording from the kind of very first beat in a bar or the very first sound in a bar. So with sync mode activated, hit start, and you've got an exact bar of audio in there, which is quite nice for us to be playing around with and stuff. We can do multiple recordings in here as well. So I've got this one recording, you see this mini waveform. I can actually start dragging this to another group or another sound, or we could add in a different recording. So mute the kick, and then we could go, let's go and record in another bar of that loop, and just have no kick drum in there. Hit start again. And now we've got 2 recordings in here with no kick drum, with a kick drum. We can start layering up recordings, different recordings in here if we wanted to. Can delete these as well, or just there's a play button there for your audio. So that's the record page, quite nice, some nice features in there. Next up you've got the edit page. So one of the main new introductions in this edit page here really, or the sampler, was this play range and selection range being two separate things. So the play range is just what's going to play back of the sample. Edit this endpoint. And that's kind of independent of this selection range. So we can just select this area here, and then in this edit options above, it's going to apply that edit, whatever we do in here, truncate, it's just going to apply it to this selection range, so truncate. So what we've basically done here with truncate option is we've removed the sections of the sample outside of that selection range. So just undo that. And of course you've got various other options here: normalize, reverse, fade in, fade out, DC correct, which is maybe more for recording maybe external kind of hardware. It's going to remove any kind of noise that you have from that recording. You've got silence, cut, and then you've got copy and paste. So you start mashing up your audio loop. Get back to normal there. Duplicate as well, so you could like highlight a section, duplicate it over, and then finally stretch, which is when you hit stretch you get some more options in here that I think we're going to delve a bit deeper with the stretch options in another tutorial and get into some more kind of deeper sound design with this stuff. But you can get really creative with your tunes, just tune kind of individual sounds, and then you've got this formants as well and the mode and stuff. So hit apply. Yeah, you can just start mashing up bits of audio, which is really cool. Another option we have in the edit page up here, you can set the waveform so you're just looking at it as if it was mono or stereo. Just that button at the top right there. And also if you kind of control click or right click anywhere on the waveform, get this select all range, select play range, deselect, or select the loop. Obviously we have nothing selected at the moment to deselect it, and we haven't set up any loops within this kind of sample yet, so that's why this option is disabled at the moment. But we'll get this save sample as an open containing folder, so open containing folder, and it's going to show us where that recording is being saved to in this folder on our hard drive, so that's pretty useful. Cancel that stretch there. So next up we have the slices page. So automatically our audio or our sample gets sliced up. And we have this time option at the bottom here where we can select the mode for our slices. So the moment it's on split and 4 slices. So split just basically means however long the sample is, it's just going to split it into equal kind of either 4 or 8, 16 or 32 different slices. Next up you have grid, and you have similar options in grid, but this is kind of this is relevant to note values. So 4th notes, 8th notes, 16th notes. It's going to apply those slices in there. And the next mode is detect. This is the one I use most. So with detect mode, next to detect mode you have sensitivity. So at the moment it's chopped up our sample a little bit and given us a few slices, but it's not kind of sorted out at the start here. And detect basically is just going to detect the transients in the sample and then chop it up, but you can increase the sensitivity here until we see our chops at the start of all our kind of individual hits or transients within this loop. So And also you have the BPM, auto or manual, you can set in there, or adjust the BPM. And this is quite a useful feature as well. In the detect mode, you've got this engine, zero crossings on. It means it's going to search for the zero crossing. So if we play this hit here, it's got a nice kind of tail on it, there's no clip. Take that off, and we get a little bit more of a clip. So useful to have that on there, that zero crossing there. You notice here as well, say these two separate kind of slices or chops, I wanted that to just be one slice. What I can do here is go to this remove, or this eraser, and you can actually remove slices now completely from this loop. So it's removing those slices, what I've deselected there, it's removing those from this kind of slice loop. So you can start removing whole slices, or what you can do here with this remove, what we were saying before, we've got these two, we just want to make this one whole slice. When you hover the eraser next to the actual slice in between these two transients here, you get this little arrow appear underneath the eraser, and then you can just make that one whole slice. Also, another new feature in Maschine 2 software, upgraded from Maschine 1, was the ability to overlap samples now. So this sample here, I can actually drag the endpoint out here. So this slice is actually this, that's that long, and then this is a separate slice. And if we wanted to start doing that with this slice in here, drag the start point out. We can overlap our slices like that. We can also, with these slices set up, we don't even need to hit apply yet or anything. We can actually just drag this slice. Say we're quite like that tom sound there. I can just click and drag this slice. I can drag it to another sound slot, or I can drag it to a separate group. I've got the option to do that there. Over here we have apply. So if we hit apply now, what it's done in here for us is it's kind of applied those samples or those chops or slices to the keyboard, and also it's got a little bit of a pattern. So if we mute that other group for now, just bring this loop range down to 1 bar, and we've got this pattern in here, and we can start rearranging this pattern if we want to. If we go back over to our sample page here, we've applied that loop. You've got some apply options in here. So create pattern, it's create a pattern from these slices. You could do no pattern, it's just going to map those slices to your keyboard, it's not going to create the pattern for you. Or you can do replace pattern. So we've made some edits there with the MIDI or the pattern of that loop, and we want to replace it with what we had before. This pattern here, we go replace pattern, apply. We just get our pattern back. So the other option you have here is, at the moment when you hit apply, if you just hit apply like this, it's just going to map these slices to the keyboard within one sound slot. But if we click and drag, we can, of course, we can drag all those slices to another sound slot. Could also drag the slices to a separate group. So if we do that, and now what we've got is the slices are on individual sound slots in a separate group, and that means that we've got this group here. If we want to mess around with these slices or create another pattern or something, we can do that. Then we've got this group here which has got our slices mapped out onto individual sound slots, so we could process some of these sounds individually, start putting effects on individual sounds and stuff. So quite a nice option to have that there. And at the moment I've got a Maschine Mark 2 set up here. So I could start playing, it's mapped all those sounds to my pads and stuff, so I could start playing or start jamming away with some hits and stuff. But what it hasn't done is those drum sounds are going to overlap a little bit, and we can actually set something up here to kind of avoid that happening by highlighting these slices hold shift and click in on all these slices, go to our sound slot, select the polyphony to 1, and then go in here and select our choke group to choke group 1. So now those individual slices that we exported out of the sampler page, they're going to chop each other off, so quite useful if you're kind of exporting slices from that sampler page and you want your kind of slices or your hits to chop each other off. Especially for like drum hits, it's pretty useful. So you've got the option to do that there. Just once you've selected all of your slices and set the polyphony and the choke group, make sure you deselect your kind of like your selection in here, because otherwise if you've still got all of these selected and if you start going and making some more kind of edits in here or selecting some other stuff in here, you're going to apply that to all of these slices or sound slots that you have selected. So make sure you get, once you've set up stuff like that with kind of a multi-select option, just make sure you deselect all those sounds. The final page to look at with the sampling really is the zone page. So in here we're going to see the zone ranges or the zone mapping for all our kind of samples. So, and we can actually start tweaking this. In here I've got this sound. And it's auto mapped it right across the keyboard. We can actually select the zone range for this sound, so just shorten the zone range. And you can do this either up here in this area here or down at the bottom. I've got a small screen so I have to scroll across, but you've got this map in here, key low, key high. Also you've got your velocity ranges, so if you notice when I'm clicking up and down here, the velocity high is going down or low. Envelope you can set in here. Tune. You also got gain, pan individual zones in here, root key, and then also you can affect the loop. We'll come back to that in a second. The play range at the top here though, this is a zone list button, so it's going to show you the different sample zones that you have within this sound slot here. You can hide and show that there. You also got sample view option here, so you can just quickly jump onto the to view your sample or a waveform the same way as you can in a kind of edit and slice area. You have different options here, but in the zone range you can do this, and then we've got that sample there. We can start playing around with the start and end points in here as well, or just apply on there and start editing that kind of sample start and end point just straight from the zone page. So yeah, you also have loop option here, so at the moment for this sample, say loop is off, make active on, and then we've activated the loop. But if you notice, I'm not going to start looping anything yet, and loop is kind of deactivated really until you go to your envelope settings and the type in here, change it from one shot to either AHD or ADSR. Once you've selected one of those amp envelopes, then loop, as long as you've got active on, is activated. So and then we can start messing around with the kind of loop length, the start and end points, and then you can get those cool sort of kind of really short-tailed sort of loop sounds going on. But yeah, if you want to get your loop actives on and you're wondering why once you've got to active and you select it on and it's not actually looping that sound or that slice for you, you need to make sure you're either on ADSR envelope or AHD envelope, and then your loop's activated. So another option in the zone page here if I turn off the sample view editor, say if I delete this zone that we have here, just delete that, and I want to drag some samples onto this sound slot. I want to drag some external samples right in here. We can do this, so go into this. I know I've got some samples in here, so yeah, it says 24 samples. So I want to load some of these kick drums in. I want to load those 4 kick drums into this zone area here on this sound slot. Just highlight them. I can click and drag. And what I can do here, if you notice, once I move these samples over, I've actually got these options. Instead I let go and like drop them in there, these options of how I can map these samples. And as I've dragged those samples over to this zone area, so I'm clicking down, I can actually map these to individual notes on the keyboard. I click and drag up, and I can apply a zone range of up to 1 octave for each sample. Or if I click and drag right up, it's going to map all those 4 samples right across the keyboard. So that's a nice option. So you can just drag your samples right in here, and I've just dragged these 4 kick drums right in here, and I've applied a zone range of 1 octave for each of those hits. So it's auto map those hits. And another option, once you've got those kind of like samples in there and those zone ranges set, and you think actually no, what I want is just kind of individual notes for each of these hits. So you know, it was like a drum kit loaded onto your keyboard or your controller or whatever. Then with these zones kind of highlighted up here, make sure you highlight all 4 zones here. You can right click, map as drum kit, and then it just maps it to individual notes. Which is quite a cool feature if you drag some samples in there and you just quite quickly, you don't want to re-drag them in or start messing around, tweaking around with the zone ranges, applying it to individual notes. If you've got stuff spread right over the keyboard, then yeah, just highlight them all, right click, map as drum kit, and that sorts it out for you. So bit of a brief overview of the sampler there. We're going to be going back and getting a bit more stuck into various different sections. It's quite advanced, a lot of features going on there. So yeah, just a bit of a brief overview showing you some of the kind of like some of the nice kind of options and features we have going on. So of course, any questions, please get in touch, let us know. Make sure you get yourself over to the machineskills.com website. Tons more tutorials on Native Instruments Maschine. And yeah, thanks for watching. Alright, cheers, bye.